Black girls have the box.
It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Hi everyone, it's Nicole and Delia coming to you live from the Time Vortex. Today we're discussing episode 1 of Doctor Who Flux, the Halloween Apocalypse. In this episode, the Doctor faces off with a new
Ooh.
villain, and whoo, child, what a face.
It is what it is. A face. I mean, that we'll get into it. I have thoughts about the face already. But hi everybody, welcome aboard for TARDIS season 4, or as Nicole has aptly named it, What the Flux. The TARDIS is out of the shop. I know it's been in the shop, out for maintenance for a good long while. And you've heard of us before, but we're the new crew captaining this TARDIS through this season. I know usually you have Connie or Robin or Brianna, but we've guested before. You're familiar with us. But before we get into our episode recap, we just wanted to tell you who we be. Nicole, who are you?
I am obviously Nicole. And I also go by Black TARDIS. So I am a Whovian who likes to talk mess on the internet. That's the shortened version of that. And I also am the BGC community moderator. So I try to keep the conversation flowing, keep it safe, keep it fun. And I'm a writer and website designer. I have to say it because I know people will
Come
get
for
on
you.
me if I don't. Right. So yeah, that's who I am. But long story short, I like to talk mess about Doctor Who on the internet.
Honestly, one of the funniest Doctor Who commentators, frankly, in my opinion. But that's, I mean, maybe I'm biased. I don't know, whatever. I'm Delia. We set up top. Y'all probably know me. I've guested a couple times, I think, on TARDIS. I'm around on other BGC podcasts. I've also guested on some other Who podcasts, like Reality Bomb. But yeah, I am. As far as why I'm here, who am I to be talking about Who? My journey with Who has been varied. I used to be diehard in the fandom, but I've kind of recently within the last few years kind of stepped back more and more till now, to the point now where I feel very much like a casual fan. I see the news and people in our BGC community in our Doctor Who channel will be talking about the news and what the goings-ons, and I'm like, I don't care. It has a lot to do with the bill of it all, and there's a lot of reasons, and we'll get into them as the season goes on. But basically, I feel like this season is my last ditch effort. Am I gonna keep watching Who? Find out next time on TARDIS. Basically, still really love the new Who of yesteryear, but we're going to see how we feel about this season. As far as my BGC position, I am the creative director and CFO of Black Girls Create. Like I said, I've been around on other pods. I've been on all 3 of our limited Patreon pods. So if you want to become a Patreon supporter, you can find us there. And also the Nerds Are Typing, which is a podcast where me and Connie go through different nerd properties and type them using the MBTI and Enneagram. So if that's your bag, holla. I think I
I'm the
covered it all.
newbie. I'm the newbie, and this is a prolific podcaster that we're dealing with here. So
Okay, please.
I've guested on a few pods, but this is the first time I'm going to be, I guess, at the helm. So good to have somebody who is about that life. So we got it.
It's gonna be good. So now that y'all know who we are, I hope y'all are gonna have a good time because we are going to get into this episode. I cannot promise it won't be out of pocket, but we're gonna just walk you through it. You know the game if you've listened to TARDIS before. It just may be a different, a little bit more out of pocket vibe, but that's what we doing nowadays. Okay, yeah, we're the captain now.
We got this. We running this.
Like that gif. Um, okay, so overall, I wanted to start with like this show. I feel like this episode was slow to start, but overall well done. Like we'll give our final thoughts later, but I think that is like going into it how I feel. Maybe my opinion will change as we talk, but that's where I'm at right now. What about you?
Yeah, I think and I said this a minute ago actually. Like the first time I watched the episode, like I for some reason did not retain like the first 5 or so minutes. Like I completely forgot about them. So when I rewatched, I was like, oh, this is fun. But like for some reason, it had completely left my memory. Which is
Mm-hmm.
not to say it was bad. It's just more so that I guess with so much stuff happening in the episode, it just didn't stick. Um, so yeah, I agree. It was like the beginning was at that point you're just like, what are we doing? Yeah. So slow to start would be the best, I guess, description of what occurred there because literally nothing before a certain point.
Really stuck. Yeah, same. Which is interesting because of the opening. It's kind of like a cold open. We open on Yaz and the doctor, kind of in a bit of a pickle. um, it was cute. Basically, they're tracking down. Look, I'm not gonna remember the name. Dog Man.
Look, I don't know.
They
The
were
good
tracking
boy.
him down, and I guess they got, and so they were like in this like gravity. I don't know what you call them, cuffs. I don't know. They're hanging upside down over a sea of acid. And so it's just kind of like hijinks them trying to get out of it because they're going to get released and dropped into the acid, et cetera, et cetera. It was giving me Legolas and Lord of the Rings, like the way they got out of it and like we're hanging on and like I was like, this is all very impossible, but okay, I'm here for it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way like when I like try to describe Doctor Who, I feel like that's the scene that you just like here. This is what you're
This
dealing
is
with.
what this
Like,
show is.
yeah, like this is basically it. Like if you had to sum it up in the most like basic kind of intrinsic thing, it's like it's just this. Like yeah, there's more happening, but like this is the overall vibe. So I did like that part because I was just like, this makes sense to me. Like this feels like Who to me, you know?
Yeah, they get dropped straight into the TARDIS. Like it's impossible, but we're kind of here. Like it's the quirky fun part of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
So yeah, I enjoyed that opening. I always enjoy the Yaz and Doctor dynamic. Which we can talk more about.
Basman.
Uh, yeah, hashtag Thasmin. This is that we are definitely Thasmin shippers up in this TARDIS. So
100%.
Then we cut to Liverpool in 1820, and I gotta say, my literal note when I was watching, because I was trying to take notes, be a good podcast host, you know how it goes. My literal note was, "Apologies, my good man, I do not care."
Yeah, I watched it twice and I still don't actually know like what the conversation like it's one of those things like visually I can see the scene but I cannot tell you a thing that happened. Um I don't know.
Basically, conflict. These two white men are arguing about, well, like it's 1820, so these two, it's like industrial, they got workers that are working on something and they're arguing about it. I guess the importance of it, I really don't know, but I
Yeah,
just was like, can we get back to Yaz and the Doctor? Like
right.
I was not invested. They did not give me, I know it's like partly supposed to be like the mystery of it all and that's going to unfold as we go through the season, but I feel like they did not give me enough to care about that scene.
Yeah. And then it like I feel like the first sentence was something like I don't care, get the poor people, get the whatever. Like I was like, okay, like are we asking what kind of labor are we asking for here? Like it was pushing a boundary. I'm like, what are we paying these
That's
people? Like
right. Yes, I remember they said something, and I also was like, pardon?
right. So I was like, I think I checked out at that point. Like, I don't want to think about this right now. So actually, whatever's happening in this time frame of this show, I am not listening to because I think my instinct was like, are we talking about like slave labor
Like,
or
that's what I was wondering.
what?
I was like, can
So I
y'all?
was like, I'm gonna go ahead and just completely wash this from my
Yeah.
brain as soon as it's over.
It did not get clarified. I assume that they're not, like, based on how the story unfolded, like, it's clearly not about that, so I'm hoping not, but, like, again, apologies, my good man, I do not care.
Exactly.
Then we come back to Yaz, and I'm gonna have to try so hard. I'm so sorry to our viewers who do not care about shipping, but like my brain just like defaults to Thasmin. But we cut back to Yaz in 13, and the TARDIS is acting up. Like she is ill. She needs to go to the doctor. Not the doctor, but a like medical professional.
She needs to get some kind of something going on because she is wonky is the word I'm gonna use. Like she
It's
is.
so it's so interesting because like we've seen like the TARDIS have like little glitches before, but I don't think we've ever seen like that's why I described it as like being sick. Like she seems ill. Like it's
Right.
we've never seen it quite like that. Um so I'm interested to see. I mean, obviously it has something to do with the flux, right? Like that's obviously what's up, or swarm. I don't really know, but something's up with that. But I'm curious to see how that plays out. Like, is the TARDIS going to end up being out of commission? Like, where does that go, or is it just like flavoring for how chaotic things are? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that was my thought too. Like, are we? Is this? It's so many new things happening in this episode. Like, is the TARDIS possibly being even less like reliable? Like the TARDIS is reliable, but it's also unreliable, and it's like we're used to the type of like way that it's unreliable. But is this like going to be a new
Mm-hmm.
thing? Because that like changes a lot of dynamics. Because like kind of the TARDIS being where it's supposed to be when it's needed is like the one stable thing, and like imagine like now the TARDIS is like I don't know what's happening, so I'm gonna actually stay here. Like we like that to me was if it was a horror movie, this is like the point where I'm like, oh, I'm scared. Like
Right, exactly.
like I like this is the one thing I is like a constant. Like we know the TARDIS is gonna get us out of it, or like we can get to the TARDIS and we'll be safe. And now it's like, are we even? Is this?
Yeah,
Are we good?
like the TARDIS, it's not that it was just showing up in the wrong spot. Like that's quintessential Doctor Who. Like it's not going to show up exactly where you want it to show up. It's that it wasn't moving. I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh dear,
Yeah.
this is not it for me. And then what most of our listeners are here trying to find out what we think. We are introduced to Dan, infamous Dan. You've seen him in the promos.
Dan the man.
Dan the man. I made notes, like in my notes I called him things like Dan the White Man and Do Nothing Dan. I will say, like, overall I did not hate him. Like I know like a lot of people are like I mean, and I agree with that take, right? Like why do we need a white man as a companion? Like why couldn't it just be Yaz in 13? Give Yaz the time she is so desperately needed to like shine, because she is such a great character. She gives me a lot of like Martha, like what Martha could have been. But again, now her screen time is split with another character that we honestly don't need, and I think is just, no offense to those parts of the fandom, that is just meant to be like a point of view character for people who identify with Dan.
Yeah.
But given everything that we learned about him throughout the episode, I don't think I hate him. Like he was fine. Like I didn't. People who have heard me on other podcasts, or I think even I guested on Tarbis for an episode. Like I'm not a fan of Graham. Not surprising. And I like Dan. These names, they're so bland. I'm sorry,
Right.
but I like Dan a lot better than I liked Graham. So we don't need him, but I'm glad he's likable enough if he's gonna be here.
Yeah, that. So I obviously like we come into these things like prepared to hate because like why are you here? Like why do we need you? But I realized in the episode, and like I am not well versed in politics enough to really get into it, but I do want to clock that like he is clearly a representation of a certain type of like
Mm-hmm.
person that is like I understand now technically why he's here. Now, do
Mm-hmm.
I think we need him? No, but I do understand that he's speaking to a certain type of person. Like we see that he's like he doesn't have a job. It's presumed based on the fact that he's always at this museum, apparently, like showing people around and he doesn't work there, right? So that's
I know
the
the fact
first
that he
thing.
just walks in. I did know, like, that first 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, a white man would just walk up into a museum and think he's, like, qualified to be showing people around. But
Right.
don't, if you haven't watched the episode, you should, because this is going to obviously very spoiler heavy, but, like, don't let that, it improves.
Yeah, like it. Like I think I tweeted like he want to be Ruth so bad because like when we meet Ruth, like she's a guide or she's doing something similar. So I was like, are we trying to do a callback? But yeah, he very much speaks to like, and again, I'm not in the politics, so do not add me. But if you're gonna add me, understand that I will cuss you out. No, but like there's clearly some type of conversation happening around, and I would say like something with to do with Brexit, something to do with kind of the the
Mhm.
classism and how people are being affected by these kind of policies, and
Yes,
like
absolutely.
that I did see that's interesting to me actually, in a way that I didn't expect. So in the in one breath it's like why is he here, but in another breath I'm like if this is done in a way where we are actually getting to explore a perspective that I actually don't have. Like I feel like I get a lot of the white male perspective
Mhm.
overall, but there is like a very small narrow window of like this is actually something I haven't seen represented on TV, and I'm okay with exploring this if we're gonna do it right. So I'm kind of interested to see like where they're going with that. If there's going to be like a part of the characterization, or if that's like oh we introduced that, we're never going to dwell on it again because that is kind of par for the course for good old
It is.
Chibnall. But we're trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see more of that because from the little I do know about British politics, mainly from like influencers I follow who live there, like, yeah, I feel like that's a demographic that often feels voiceless, and that's like part of the problem, or a lot of the political strife over there. Again, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
details, so please do not at me. But I do think if that's what they're doing with this character, I agree. I think it's super interesting, and if you're gonna have an extra character, like have them do something and speak to someone in a meaningful way, like not just like I'm a average white guy, I identify with Graham. And again, no offense if you're a average white guy, like that's fine, but like I just want it to have deeper meaning if we're adding characters that we don't necessarily need. um when I did watch him though, as they're introducing him and like the things he's into, like because he's like donating and like taking care of his community, I was like, so basically he's a good sim. Like if you play The Sims, there's a character, The Sims 4 specifically, there you can have the like personality of being a good sim, and like that's just what he was giving, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like we love a good sim.
Like I'd rather you be like good and like boring than like your only interesting trait is that you're bad. Like
Right.
it's okay. Being good is actually perfectly fine. It just can't be the only element and facet of your
Which
character.
as we go on, I don't think that is, and we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in him, to say the least. So we, after our introduction to Dan, and I also want to know, I didn't put this in the agenda, but I just remembered, I don't remember her name, but he's like setting up a not date, but it's really a date, with a friend of his. I didn't get her name,
Oh, I forgot
but
her name. I had it. I wrote it down too, and like me, my brain said this is information you will need tomorrow, and thus it is no longer available to me.
yeah, I don't
But
remember her
yeah,
name, but
from the museum,
yeah,
I
from the
believe.
museum, but she was an amputee, and I thought that was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's something about representation, which we're going to talk a lot in this podcast about representation. So if that's not your bag, I mean, firstly, that's what TARDIS has always been, but like, just want you to know that we're going to continue the trend. But like, there are obviously, like, I do not exist at all intersections of marginalization. Um, and like, even though I'm really like cognizant of the representation we don't have, it's not, even I, like with the privileges that I hold, like when I see representation I'm not used to seeing, like sometimes it takes me by surprise, like it hadn't occurred to me. I mean, maybe I've read about it, but like I just don't, I have the privilege of not thinking about like, oh, that's true, you don't really see like actual amputees in like shows and stuff, even though like that's a very like common thing in real life. And so I just thought it was nice to see. Like it, maybe people think it's like a throwaway thing that they did, which maybe it is, I don't know. We don't get much more of that character, and like she might be dead, it's unclear.
It is unclear, but you know what? I think there is, in a way, it's like I think it's kind of better to not make a point of it. Sometimes, like that's the tricky part with representation, because like there's
Mm-hmm.
obviously an issue when you colorblind cast, and I think that also applies to like if you have a person with some other like a visible disability, for example, and like you make that a thing, then you have to like have a story that supports why you are so invested in this particular element of this person, right? But if they are just a person who happens to be an amputee, you don't have to dwell on it. And I think that's the thing about representation. It's like we want to be represented, but I also want to be normal. Like this is how I exist all the time. It is not a story. It's just who I am and how I live. So I kind of in one area, I'm kind of glad it's not really at this point, like it doesn't feel like there's something they're even worried about or thinking about. I kind of like the idea, like I just cast this person, we like them, they have good energy, right? And it's like they just happen to be an amputee. I hope that's the story, right? But if it's not the story, I want y'all to be very careful with how you then treat this character.
Which again, whose track record not great. So I don't like. I'm hoping it's the former, and it's just like they happen to be, and we love it. I would like more of that in life, not just who. So again, then we move on to the character who I didn't know. I had to ask Nicole before we recorded this because I was like, who is the big bad's name? His name is Swarm. Or their name is Swarm. Actually, I don't even know if they actually ever refer to them, but regardless, their name is Swarm. Talking about I waited, I planned, I executed, and I literally like said out loud as I was watching, "Excuse me, are you Aaron Burr, sir?" He's clearly he's bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I actually really thought it was a super interesting and like intriguing intro because it's like we're looking at like these characters who are like discussing him, like this person has been in prison for as long as they have been alive or like longer, right? And there's like they're very far away from him and like they're kind of closing in on him and he gets more ominous in a way, like as they get closer, like the way the danger ramps up just in that conversation. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Then they have him like obviously the look changes, but like I find it so like the design was so like I don't know effective for me. I was like, oh, that like I don't want to be in a room with this person like in a way that like a lot of who monsters just don't scare me. Like they are not scary to me. Right. They scary in conceptually. Like the idea of Cyberman is scary. Like oh my goodness, but like visually, I'm like look at this.
Yeah, it's right.
Like it's not. Like yeah, like it's. I'm not scared of this thing. So like this is one of the first characters. Like there have been others, but this is one of the first where I was like, this feels threatening and ominous in a way that like my cackles are up. Like I am like, so I really like the introduction of, I again, don't know if they say their name Swarm, but like, I like the introduction because it's so like, as they're talking about it, you're like, oh, y'all are definitely finna get got. Like I just, the vibe is like, what,
I honestly was like, why are y'all still walking toward me? You already know. Like, I know y'all don't know y'all are on who, but I'm going to tell you what's about to happen. Y'all need to just turn around. Y'all don't get paid. I don't know what y'all get paid, but y'all don't get paid enough for what's about to happen.
Right. Like, it just felt like that was like such a weird horror movie section where I was just like, everything bad is about to happen in this moment. And like, y'all are so unaware. Y'all just chit-chatting. And he was so confident too. Like, we've been doing this for this long. Boop, boop, you are secured. And I'm like, you are way too confident for like this person that y'all have to check on their like restraints every year or whatever the situation is. Like, I don't know. It was just so, for some reason, it stood out to me. It was just so, I'm so intrigued by it. I was like, this is a super effective scene for me because I was just like, everything. Like, if you took that scene out of the episode and just showed that, like, I still feel like you would capture a lot of people's attention. Like, people are like, I've never seen the show. Now I kind of want to watch it because this is something that's happening here.
Well, especially how he like did the snap and they disintegrated. I mean, he didn't actually do the snap, but like it was very similar concept.
Yes.
I was really intrigued. I will say, like, later on in the episode, he didn't look as spooky, scary as the initial. But that's, I think it, in line with like who prosthetics and like production, which is fine. I will say, I don't know, like, I don't know if you've heard of like, trypophobia, like fear of clusters and stuff. Like, I don't have it strongly. Like, I mostly just get kind of like eked out and just keep scrolling if I see stuff. But when he like changes and the spikes be growing. They grew a little. It tripped that in me. I was like,
Oh
I
no.
can't. It was not, but it helped. Like in a way, it like added to the spooky factor. I was like,
Right.
I'm not here for this. I don't know if you saw online, like for the most part, I've been avoiding all like Who commentary because I wanted just to come with my thoughts and not be influenced by like other people's. Since the episode came out, that's just like me because I don't want to be parroting stuff y'all already heard. If I could help it, but I saw a tweet like there people are theorizing. I don't know if you saw this, that because he changes like right in that introduction that he like that's a regeneration because clearly like they I don't know his sister's name but like they know.
Azure. Yes,
Yeah.
IMDb. I got you.
All right. They know the doctor from before, like, you know, the whole
Right.
timeless child, like all that whole storyline. So people are like, oh, maybe it was regeneration because it was like apparently also two different actors. That's what I saw on Twitter. I don't know what I think about
Right.
that theory, but I'm interested in it.
Yeah, like so I didn't think about it as a regeneration. It just didn't occur to me actually. But I did think like this is somebody who is from the before times, and by the before times I mean before somebody decided to mess with the doctor's mind. Because obviously
Mm-hmm.
they were doing a lot and they were like, we're gonna erase that. So yeah, I had thought like this they might be from the same like species or I don't remember the tree of like
Mm-hmm.
species genus. I don't remember, but like somewhere where they are related enough that like at some point, you know what I mean, like they have
Mm-hmm.
maybe the same power set. That, you know, Swarm might have two hearts, you know, maybe three, maybe he's like the next level, we don't know. But like I did have that thought, and like the way that they changed, I keep going between he and they mainly because
Same.
I feel like, and this is like male coded to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm alternating between, but obviously if they make any clear like he or they in the show, I will follow suit. But like yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, I don't know, like I didn't think of that as a regeneration because it felt like to me it was like I got energy from
Mm-hmm.
absorbing their essence or whatever. So it didn't feel like regeneration. It felt like killing them or like whatever. When they turn to dust, I feel like that was absorbed. So that might be just like, you know, like a vampire
Mm-hmm.
feeding on blood. That's what I got
Right.
from that. I didn't think of it as like, oh, a new me, who this, you know. So so yeah, but I did think like they could have been somebody from the like before the chasm is what
Right.
I'm gonna call it, like before we
Mm-hmm.
found the doctor.
Yeah,
So
it could
yeah, I
be
think
like
that's interesting.
related abilities.
Right.
So we're gonna put a pin in that, and we're gonna see how that develops through the season. But I'm curious. I'm
Same.
watching like the eyes emoji. So then we go on. I will say at this point, like I care more now, but at this point in the episode, I still was not invested in Dan. But we get more Dan the White Man lore. That was my no.
Right.
We see his flat. He's doesn't have food. He's broke. And again, my point about him being a good sim, like he doesn't have any food, but we saw him earlier donating things. So
Yeah.
like clearly he's like a good guy, cares about his community, and like will give when he has nothing, which one of my
Yes.
favorite type of
Well,
people. So like
I also was
okay.
thinking like he's maybe proud. I feel like that would be not necessarily a character flaw because
Oh
people are
yeah, I see
proud. So
what you
I
mean.
was reading it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit differently, and it's probably because he's a white man, and I just got to put a little stank on it. But like, I was just like, oh, maybe he's like, it's not that he's just good, which I think you can be both things. These are not mutually exclusive. Like you can be a good
Right.
person and really care about other people, and also be too proud to feel like you need help. So I was leaning
Mm-hmm.
more toward the being like, I don't need it because I shouldn't need it more so than like, oh, I just want other people to have it because I want them to have it. So I was
That's
reading
an
a little bit
interesting
more that
take.
way. I
I
was like,
like
yeah,
that.
he's a little proud. I don't know. That's what I got. Especially because the way he talks about like Liverpool and the way he's
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like he has an idea of what like this type of person who's from here. Like, you know, I don't know if they have the bootstraps like how we got it in the US, right? Like, but I'm thinking like in my mind, he's a bootstraps person. Like I
Right.
should be able to work for this and get it. And if I can't, I don't deserve it. And so, but other people do, right? Like it's that thing that we always feel like I
Mm-hmm.
have to work for everything. But then you also, as a person who cares about other people, are like, but other people should not go without. But I should because you know me, like I'm OG, like you know what I mean. Like that was the
Yeah.
energy I got. But that could, I will admit, that could be projection because I find that easier to like look for negative aspects of people, especially white men. So that might be me.
Even if it is a bias, though, I think that take is a little bit more interesting just because, like, I don't know, you want, like, multi-dimensional characters. You don't want just a flat, oh, he's just good.
Yeah.
That would give some dynamic to his character. So that's an interesting take. If that's what it is, I'd be interested in seeing that play out because, like, it could be, like, as they're, adventuring and traveling, he's, like, needs help at some point and like needs saving, but he doesn't want to ask for it and like has to learn that lesson, which would be interesting to see. Like
Yeah.
I'm here for that take, even if it's coming from the bias, which honestly is the bias unearned. I don't think so. We have seen things in Who before, so like
Exactly.
I did say because at that point I was still like, okay, so he's just a good sim. I get it. He's broke. He needs to hit that mother lode tree and like get him some simoleons because man's is gotta eat. But again, I came around to him after like not long after this. I was like, okay, he's fine. So then we see I don't remember this character's name, nor do I care because I was like a Maltipoo, like just a giant Maltipoo.
Okay,
So
wait. Okay, wait. No, we have to rewind really quick because you probably don't know because I think you might not have checked. They released like 2 or 3 days before, maybe longer. They released the clip of Dan, and it's the clip where like
yeah, I purposefully didn't watch it because I
right.
didn't want to go in with my
Okay, but it's like the
views
trick or
skewed.
treaters, and it's like this is one of those times where I'm like, you had moments to spare, and this is what you decided to spare moments on. They have the trick or treaters come, and like he's very nice to the kids, like here's your candy, whatever. And then like a grown man comes, like I think we
Right.
made the joke in BGC, like this is like Salad Guy's like friend, because remember, like I think it's the woman who fell to Earth. The random guys just throwing salad, and he's like, "Hey, what
Yes.
you doing?" So we're like, the Halloween guy and Salad Guy's friend. They just go out randomly harassing people. But yeah, like it's such a like the clip by itself was like we were like this is like it did not help to me. Like I was like this is the boringest person I've ever seen in my life. Like why would you release this clip? And it still is actually boring in context. But then it's like there's the dog person. Like the dog person is what makes that clip good. And I'm like, why would y'all release this? I don't know. That was a slight little rant, but I just did not understand it. But it was much, I guess, more rewarding when it's like, yeah, there's a dog man here. Like I don't know, something about it was just I don't know. That was like a random.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was meant to be funny, even in the context of the episode. Like, it was meant to be funny, but I was just kind of like, okay. Firstly, like, I'm just like, we got a giant Maltipoo in the living room, y'all. Am I supposed to be frightened? And it turns out
like,
no.
so
but at that
cute.
point, I was like, what
I was
is?
like, he's adorable.
Please.
Like, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to like infantilize you this whole time because
you are right.
You're a pupper. I'm sorry. Like I sorry.
I think I actually started calling him a pupper in my notes.
Like that's literally what he is in mine. I don't remember. I forgot his name. I forgot.
Yeah,
again.
it's cut.
The pupper. It's
yeah, the pupper.
Because there are puppers
yeah.
that we know, but he's the pupper.
Yeah, and it was he was real cute. But he comes in, he like with an axe, he's like kaboom, kaboom, like knocks. He's like, you coming with me? And Dan's like, the hell I'm not. And then, of course, alien versus human, who's going to win that fight. So he takes Dan, Dan's unconscious. And then like cut to his ship, and like Dan wakes up in this like electrified cage. And so you're like, dang, Dan really got. Why is this pupper picking on him? Like, what is going on? And we find again, I think what they were trying to do. So like often you'll have like banter between like supposed bad guys and like a Who companion. And I think it was supposed to be funny, the banter that they were having. But I like literally had the conscious thought, like, this is not working for me.
No, I have to think. I was like, I know what the scene is supposed to be doing. Like I could think of scenes that were done correctly or like that evoked what were supposed to be evoked. But I was just like, this is cute. Like it was like this is fine and dandy. It's a little long, and I'm sure it probably actually is like 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. But like my mind was like, we have been in this moment for too long. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't given what needed to be gave.
it did not need to be there. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of, it wasn't even just there. I didn't make a note of, there was another place like where they tried to put in a quippy line, and this could just be this episode writer, like no offense to them, but like it seemed like they were trying to put a quippy line, and I was like, that wasn't funny, but okay. Like,
right. I think they were trying to like make it where once we like the reveal happens of like what the pupper is doing, we're like, oh, that's surprising, right? But but they don't do it. Whatever they're doing, they are not doing it correctly. It's not being done well. So like once the reveal happens, we're like, okay, like cool,
right.
It's not like I'm not like, oh my goodness, I would have never guessed that because like he's so mean to Dan or whatever. It's like he's perfectly like agitated. Like I would be if like somebody keep asking me questions. Like stop asking me questions, stay in your little cage and leave me alone. Like
Yeah,
that makes me bad. It just makes me irritated.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, so that again, so it's fine, and we're now seeing like Dan out of his element. Like that's always, I think, also maybe that's why it fell flat. Now that I'm saying it out loud, like that moment, especially for like new companions when they're first pulled out of their element, how they react tells us so much about their character and what the dynamic's going to be with the Doctor. And like it was giving not much.
That's it, because there's like I think there's something like where there's like fear or wonder or something. He was not really given any strong one or the other. It's not like, oh my god, I got kidnapped. I'm like, what is happening? It was like, oh wow, I'm in a cage. That's crazy. And like again, I as a person who watches so much sci-fi, if it were to happen, I'd be like, this makes sense to me actually. But he's not presented as a person who thinks that way, right? So like,
right.
He in the cage, I just feel like he should have some more emotional reaction to it. So I think that's what it is too. It's not even that like he doesn't have to be scared because like I might be very curious more so than scared, but even the curiosity has to be ramped up or like, oh wait, like he's like, yeah, you're on my spaceship, and he's like, oh damn, I'm on your spaceship. Like it's not enough of any of the reactions to like match the situation. And so I don't know if that's a character thing or if that's just like they were just like tone it down so you can ramp it up throughout the season, or I don't know. But I think that's what it is. It was just kind of like it wasn't enough
right
reaction, enough like emotional resonance. Like what do you care about the situation you're in, or you just like want to go home or like go take a nap?
Yeah, which I mean valid, but like this is our companion. I'm gonna need more.
Right.
So yeah, then we cut to Thasmin. I'm just gonna lean into it. It's fine.
We're in Thasmin.
It's Thasmin. It is what it is. So we cut back to Thasmin. They end up at Dan's flat because they, that's where the TARDIS drops it. Ryan is no longer on it, so it is not the TARDIS. The TARDIS drops him off like right outside, and of course the silent screwdriver that can do everything like notices that, oh shoot, there's like non-terrestrial, which I was like, non-terrestrial, like define non-terrestrial. Like I just like, I don't know. Anyways, to non-terrestrial energy or whatever that was deployed. So they like end up in Dan's flat. Also, this scene was interesting, kind of like, the Doctor does her thing and like whoop-de-whoop figures out everything. Oh no, there's a fleet of puppers coming at us and we don't know why. It's an invasion. There's a trap, the house gets shrunk. But I feel like that moment should have like also revealed more about Dan's character, but it didn't reveal anything we hadn't already seen when he was in his own flat.
Right. And I thought it was interesting that like his brokenness ended up being a plot point because it was necessary for them to acknowledge for like, damn, he lived like this. And then it's like, oh, look at this very expensive laptop. Like it's such a weird thing to like, and that would stand out. Like I don't think that's a false read. Like if I went to somebody's house and like their house is decrepit and then they have like a PlayStation 5, I'm like, something out of place in this situation. Like there ain't even a TV, but somehow it's like a fresh PS5 right here. I'm gonna be a little suspicious about it. But like I just thought that was interesting that they made him being broke like a plot point that it would require. Like that's how they figured out that there was a trap. It was like, oh damn, it's a laptop here that should not be here. Like that is very expensive, and that's how they were like, we gotta go. And that I find funny in the way that I find these things funny, but not in like a laughing at way. But I was just like, wow, like they really just clowned this man. Like they really like there's no other word for it, but like they really just put him out there. Like damn, like.
But it also bodes well.
Like, this is not the normal here.
Mm-hmm. I think it also bodes well, though, to what we were talking about before about Dan's character,
Yeah.
that, like, hopefully these things aren't just, like, passing references, and that this is, like, actually, like, a trait of his character that's going to carry through the season, unlike, you know, Ryan's dyspraxia that, like, never really came up again. So hopefully that, like, is a hint to, like, no, this is going to be part of his story, which,
Right.
if so, I'm with it. Like, that's cool. And also, I did love the fact that both Yaz and 13 figured out at the same time, like they said at like in tandem, like it's not his, and like ran. Like I just love, and I guess this is why I say like I'm sure I've said it when I've guessed on other podcasts, but like why I think Yaz is a lot of what Martha could be if like Martha didn't get treated the way she did, just because like she's a very like competent character and like thinks almost to the, I mean, the doctor's the doctor, but like for a companion thinks to the doctor's level and like
It's
is just,
very
yeah, just
quick.
very comp.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, yeah, like, I mean, that was the thing about Martha. Like, Martha was like, really didn't need the doctor. I always say, like, Martha just needed a ride. Like, the doctor
Exactly.
dropped her off. She did all the work, and then they went on about their business. And I feel like Yaz is similar, like, can deal with it. Like, whatever's happening, even if it's something beyond comprehension, it's like, whatever, I just got to deal with it. And she's, like, really quick. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
love that they did. That's one thing that's, like, they didn't do anything with her being a cop necessarily, but I do like that it kind of it expresses itself in how fast she
Mm-hmm.
deduces things and how fast she investigates. Like in her mind, these things are like happening, and we're like seeing her be very quick and very like
Good in a crisis.
right, like things that you would have learned or are supposed to
Should
have
have.
learned. Right, yeah,
Right.
if you were trained well and actually, you know, put on probation and allowed to learn. But yeah, so I do like that that's a consistency with her character, and it's also something that
Mm-hmm.
they've improved over time because I feel like it's always there, but now it's much more like we see like, okay, I've been traveling for a minute, so this is like second nature to her. And I love that that's
Mm-hmm.
very clear. Like even from the last season, which I felt like she was on it. Like I felt like she had a good grasp on things, but like
Mm-hmm.
this season she's very, very like, or this episode. I mean, I can't say the whole season, but she's so on it. Like she's like very quick about things. She's very observant, but also she's very like she knows now, like she can clock when the doctor is being the way the doctor is in a way
Mm-hmm.
that like I feel like other companions take a long time to get to that place and don't ever, even when they get to that place, don't necessarily call it out. She's like, now what are we doing? Like what's happening? Why you ain't telling me what's good? Like from the beginning of the episode, she's like, I know you ain't telling me everything. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
that cop aspect is like brought in a way that works for like the adventures and what they're doing.
Right. It's logical for her character. Like
Yeah.
you would expect a person to be like that. So I also dig it. Love Yaz, like a fave, obviously. So as they're exiting Dan's flat, they meet Claire, or maybe meet's not the correct word because Claire already knows the doctor. She's running towards the doctor and is like, Doctor, doctor. So clearly there's some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey things going on. Because she has already met the doctor and she's like, oh, we haven't met yet, but we will, and lets the doctor go because the doctor's like, I'm a little busy with a invasion, but like, catch you later. um which, you know, I always love a wibbly wobbly, timey wimey friendship, relationship, all those are great.
Yeah, I liked it too. Also because like again, yes, the cogs are turning. Like she's already like trying to put this little timeline together in her head. You can tell she's like, okay, something is going. Like I feel like she's gonna get to an answer before the doctor gets to the answer. Like that's how I feel
Hmm.
about it. Like she is so alert and like on it in a way that I'm like, I hope this is rewarded later. Like I really, because she is so like when Claire is talking, she is being like, Yaz is sizing her up, and not in like a aggressive way, but just like, okay, let me lock this away because you giving me some information that's like that is important. I don't know.
Hmm.
So I've noticed that Yaz is really like investigating the doctor in a way. Like it's very paying attention to things that people say, to, like what the doctor says and what like people say to the doctor. Like even at the beginning, she's like, "What is?" There's clearly a conversation happening that I was not around for, but like
Hmm.
y'all are talking about something that I need context for, and it's like so she's like tuned in. Like she is not about to let the doctor get away with nothing. I feel like, and I want that. Like that's how healthy relationships work. Like you need communication, you need trust, So Thasmin are gonna get it. They're gonna get it together.
And I like that because the doctor is like, she is hyper focused on some things that maybe she should not be. So it'd be cool like for like Yaz to be the level head, like, no, focus. This is what's going on. So because I mean, and naturally the doctor would be losing focus a little bit, being a little sneaky, trying to like hyper fixate on trying to figure out who is in the, what's it called,
You mean the swarm?
no, the organization. It's not called the organization.
Oh,
It's called
the division.
Division. Thank you. I was like, it starts
Like
with
the
a D.
organization.
Yes, division.
Right.
So makes sense, but like I like Yaz being that like level head. And speaking of, then we cut. They're in the TARDIS, which again is still acting up. Like the door is moving. It's a mess. But Yaz confronts the doctor because the doctor's like, my head glitched a little bit. No big deal. And she's like, what are you not telling me? Why did we follow this multi-poo all the way here? Like, what is going on? And like calls the doctor, frankly, on her bullshit. Like
Right.
like, and I love that because I love it in that is so Yaz, and I like that she's confident enough to be like, absolutely not, that's not what we're doing. On the other hand, I know a lot of viewers did not like the friends, sparkles and rainbows like aspect of the doctor's personality. And this was my complaint from last season, not that I've like talked to any of y'all about it, but like I just feel like we're trying to like regress into like the moody, like misunderstood doctor like that a lot of the fandom likes, that has been like every other doctor. And I don't know. I just feel like, why do we have to sacrifice the relationship between Yaz and the doctor? Like, why does the doctor have to push her away? Like, it's a compelling story, but not even the shipper of it all. Just Yaz getting her things, being trusted by the doctor as like somebody who can handle this stuff, I think is only fair to Yaz. And I don't like that the doctor's just like, I can't, you wouldn't understand, like going through like this like angsty phase.
No, I agree. I think even when like 13 was first cast, I was like, I hope that they don't lean into the grumpiness because of the fact that it's a female incarnation. Because then it's like people are gonna have people gonna have something to say regardless. But I was like scared that they would really
Mm-hmm.
try to like make her manly in the way that they think manliness presents
Right.
itself. And so I was actually glad that they leaned into like the just like yay. The problem was that they didn't offer enough variation of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it started to feel like okay, she's just nice, which
Mm-hmm.
to me, with my like how I think of niceness, so I'm like niceness is always an act in my mind. So somebody
Mm-hmm.
who's nice all the time is actually always manipulating to some extent. So I read it kind of differently because I'm like niceness is a job or like it requires you to
Mm-hmm.
actively be that way, right? But because people just read like, oh, it's a woman, so they made her kind. So like, like I feel like people were
Mm-hmm.
mad about that. So then they felt like they had to do the opposite of like keep secrets and all these other things. That again, like the doctor is always this way, but there are levels to it. I feel like the doctor keeps some things to themselves and then can still be open. And so I agree. Like I feel like Yaz is a character who has earned that kind of inside scoop, like in the way that
Mm-hmm.
like we don't necessarily see certain conversations. Like you don't know when the doctor talks to Rose about stuff, but you do get the sense that she has a lot more information than
Mm-hmm.
like later on Martin gonna have. Like if Martin learns a lot of stuff in the moment, like oh cool, right,
Right.
that's fine. Whereas it seems like when Rose experiences things, she has a context for it that other people may
Mm-hmm.
not have. Um, and so I feel like with Yaz would be one of those characters that I feel like should have that kind of insider knowledge. Like they can drop something from the classic series, for example, and Yaz would not need to be explained what that
Mm-hmm.
is. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that the doctor is like, so I take you on adventures, right? Like you have fun, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm
I
like
just
that doesn't like negate the fact that I also want to be like a partner who like has information and like knows what's going on. Like I am here
and
with
like
you, and that's like period, like friend or otherwise, but like otherwise
and
here.
like also,
That's
frankly,
fine.
doctor, that's not what you sold. You kept saying we were going to be friends, and friendship is not you just taking me wherever you want and then not telling me stuff. Like that's not friendship. Like that's not what that is. So yeah, again, I don't
Right.
mind the shift into like giving the Doctor more depth, because I kind of agree it got one note that like there's in a lot of ways, not just with the Doctor's character, this was an issue with Chibnall's show running, I think, in general, and development of the characters just being very one note, so it wasn't just limited to the Doctor. However, you can add depth without adding conflict to Yaz and the Doctor's relationship, because it makes the least sense that there would be that kind of conflict anyway there. So I did not like that, not a fan, and that's aside from the shipping. Add the shipping and I'm mad. Like
Right, like add the thing that's like, you don't treat your lover this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I'm like,
not
absolutely
do
not.
that. So like the next thing is that what I love about Claire is like, she's like, oh, I haven't met y'all yet. All right, y'all be good. Have a good night. I'll holler at y'all, right? And so then we're almost immediately rewarded by the fact that like she's being haunted by like a weeping angel, and
love a weeping angel. Obviously, one of the best villains.
You know me, like I was like, oh, I love the weeping angels, but I was like, I hate them. They stupid because I cannot deal with like Angels Take Manhattan just killed it for me. Like,
okay, I said one of the best villains. Right. Sand that literal one episode.
Like everybody else I know is like, I hate the episode too, but I don't think about it. But for me, it's like all I can think about. So my favorite thing about this though is this is the angel that I really loved and connected with. So I was like, yes, you're getting closer. I was also like, Claire, ma'am, are you like, you know the rules clearly, but you are not, maybe you have not practiced because you keep looking away. And I understand that you are flustered and that you don't normally have to look backwards to put in your key, but I also feel like there is one lock, okay? Figure it out.
She was struggling too much for me.
Like, it was too much of a struggle to the point where it got comical. Like, okay, I guess you just gonna.
Yeah, I was like, you just gonna have to get Guy. I'm so sorry.
They're gonna have to get you, unfortunately. And I'm like, there is no version of this where you get out of it. Because once you drop the key the first time, I'm like, I think the angel could have got you. And they was just giving you a chance. They was just trying to see what you was gonna do next, right? Like, I feel like they was like, we could have got her. But let's just see what happened. Because she's over here really playing with these keys.
The angels are petty.
Like, I feel like the angel was really just like getting a kick out of the whole thing because like it was so many mistakes being made in that moment by Claire. And I'm like, maybe Claire knows she gets got because of the situation, and therefore it was like, oh, it has to happen. Like, I have to already be in the house to make sure the timeline doesn't get broke. And so she's doing the whole like dog and pony show just to be like, oh, I'm in the house now. They got me. Like, I kind of hope that's it. Like, she knows it happens. So like, trying to match the circumstances, but I kind of just think they thought they were really like selling the like horror, but it stopped being like scary, like because she kept doing it. I was like, okay, the first couple times, right? The first couple like little moments when they looked away, I was like, yes, angels. This is the angels that I love. And then like she dropped the key again. I'm like, okay, you know what? She gonna have to go ahead and get got. See you in the past,
girly.
Or the
I'm
future.
So sorry. Yeah. I will say I did like the fact, I mean, I'm again very intrigued because she knew, like, we know she meets the Doctor, but the fact that she also knew what the Weeping Angels were, I was like, okay, oh, Claire, she got some knowledge. We don't know who she is, but okay, I'm peeping. I like what we're putting down. I'm into it. So we shall see what we get from that in the rest of the season. I'm excited.
Me too.
Next, okay. Next. Yes. Here it is. We get another character. We get Vinder, who is played by Jacob Anderson. And if you don't know who Jacob Anderson is, let me tell you how it went down for me. So I'm watching. I'm already into it. I'm like, ooh, Claire got. Uh-oh. And then we got this malfunctioning like spaceship place like on wherever the Flux is. And I'm like, ooh, this is chaotic. And then they show the character's face. I'm like, okay, dreads. And then I'm like, Grandma!
That's why, like, I didn't, like, we don't, like, once we decided, we were like, we're going to do it. I'm not going to tag Delia and nothing because, like, I wrote something about, like, San Diego Comic-Con, so I knew about Vinder. And so I was like, yes, my boyfriend, whenever he showed up.
Oh, dang.
So I knew, but it was like, I knew, and I still was like super excited when it happened on the show. Because you don't know when they're gonna like pop up. Like, oh, are they gonna make us wait for it? Like, are they teasing? And he's gonna be like the last episode. Like, how much of them are we getting? And he's like right in there. I was like, there he is. There go my boyfriend. Cause like he's my boyfriend. And so yeah, I was also really excited, but I did have like foreign knowledge, but I remember thinking like, I don't think like, I was like really like, I don't think Delia knows.
I did not know.
So I was like, I wonder what like that is gonna be. So I love that. I love that you were excited about that.
I was so excited.
I was like excited when I knew, but I had time to like marinate and prepare myself. So I was like, there you go. But I was like, I do not think Delia has not been in the channel. So like we definitely talked about it, but you were not in there at that time.
I was not.
I remember. So I was like, I don't think she knows. So like it like gave me a good tickle because I was just thinking like,
I knew I was going to be excited.
I was thinking like, boom, 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 boom.
It really was. I was like, oh, right, this is the rest of the episode, right? Like, I was like, I don't care about literally anything else that's going on in this episode. Right. We need to keep cutting back to Vinder because, hello, my mans, we got, like, that man, I know, he's fine. Like, it is what it is. Like, I recognize real hotties. Anyway.
And I love how he was like making his report and clearly shenanigans are afoot in space. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get y'all the update. Also, fuck y'all. I ain't trying to be out here anymore. Like, yeah,
he was like, oh, like, peace,
he was
signing
already
off.
over it. He like the first transmission, he was already over it before he realized what was really about to occur. And then, like, it's a little fast forward, but like when he's starting to see some Galactus action happening and like planets, he's like, oh no, baby. They don't pay me enough for this. And I was like, see, even in space, black people do, if we don't get paid enough, we got to go.
We gotta go. It is time to go.
He was like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm head out. Y'all be good. Like, that was my favorite. Like, I felt like that was my own, like that's me 100%. Like, oh yeah, definitely no. I'm gonna go ahead and holla at y'all later. Here's my little report. Y'all be good. Like, I love that. So that really like made me excited because I was just like, that character is very like aligned with me spiritually. Like, I feel like we vibe.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see him for the rest of the season. If he dies, I'm quitting. So just letting you know.
I think I will have to take a flight and put hands on somebody. Like, I just feel like they should be aware of that.
I mean, not only for, obviously just killing black people to kill black people of it all, but like specifically him, we are going to have problems. Like, so.
Like, specifically, because I'm very invested in this character. Like, in this
absolutely
first 10 seconds. So, like.
He didn't interact with nobody, and I'm already like, invested. I got his personality, I got his vibe, and he's cute. Like, the cute is just a cherry on top, but like, period. Anyway, anytime he was on screen, I forgot the rest of the episode and was like, this is what I'm watching the Vinder show. Anyway. So we move on from Vinder, unfortunately. And we're back to finding out that the Maltipoos are actually trying to save the humans from the Flux. And the Flux is finally named. Which is really cute. I'm sorry. I know maybe it was supposed to be like super cool, but it's freaking adorable.
That is cute as hell. I was like, oh, the puppers, you're coming to save their humans like puppers do, and we don't deserve puppies.
We don't. And
I like, obviously my next tweet was like, yeah, those cat nurses probably been gone. They said, dudes, because cats don't care. Like,
them cat nurses, they were like, that ain't my problem.
Y'all be good. They did what they did. They said, y'all be good. We on our ships on the way out. Yeah, I thought that was the cutest thing. I'm like, if it was not meant to be cute, unfortunately, y'all just missed the mark on that. That was cute as hell. It was adorable.
Yeah, that's why I was like, is this meant to be cute? Because all I'm getting is like, aw, cute.
Right. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to like be like paternalistic and be like, oh, how cute. But like, that was my emotional reaction to
if you like dogs at all, you can't tell me that was not cute.
That was adorable. I was like, oh, they were coming to save their humans. And we always say like, we don't deserve dogs. I'm like, we don't. Like, I kind of feel like y'all should let humans see what happened. But like, I appreciate y'all trying to save these folks. But
I didn't understand. So like, for me, like, then, so like, some Flux shenanigans start happening, but like also like Yaz breaks out. So Yaz and the Doctor end up on the pupper ship, and like Yaz, they like part. Also, there's more conflict there. It's whatever. But Yaz goes after Dan to try and free him. She does. It's cool. She's smart. She's competent. She's able to like get into them computer systems and like boop, boop, boop. You free. Probably. Try touching the bars. If it electrocutes
It was
you,
very
my
the
bad.
doctor. It was very much
It was
like
it was
her
giving very much
reflective.
the doctor.
Yes.
And so when they join the doctor and the pupper, Dan's like, I don't want your help. So that could lend itself to like the pride, but also it also just seemed like the typical human line, like we can do it ourselves. And me personally, I just want to if there are any aliens listening that feel compelled to save me from some sort of doom befalling this planet, I invite you. You are welcome. As long as you take me and my family, like it's good. Like, let's go.
Yeah, like I thought it was, and that was I thought I had to as well. Like, is it just like I don't need your help because like I'm, I mean, I got it, like I can do it, or was it just like he was just offended because the dog kept talking to him like he was a dog, like not used to that reversal, and was just being like, I cannot believe this. So I found like that was funny to me, and again, I don't even know what the aim is ever. Like the tone of this episode, I can
was
never
a little nebulous.
Like I'm
yes,
like,
I agree.
for me, I'm like, I find this part funny, but I don't know that they were trying to be funny. Whereas the parts where they are definitely trying to be funny, I'm like, this is not at all
not funny.
So yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, maybe I don't know, but
yeah, and also
I thought
since it was. I think also part of the confusion was I was going in thinking it was going to be a little bit more spooky or something. I mean, and yes, we got Swarm who's spooky, but like it's a Halloween episode.
They definitely did not. It was like not Halloween really. Like they that was a gotcha. It was like I'm thinking they're gonna keep reiterating Halloween in some way, like keep reminding us that this is a spooky thing. But it wasn't like they had the spookiness first 5 minutes, and you're like, all right, spooky over, bing bang boom. Now we're going to the show, and I'm like, okay, so y'all added Halloween for the sake of dropping it on Halloween. Like I feel like they much creepier at the top, and I felt like they that sets a different kind of tone, and then you get to like the puppies, and then like you get to like, and I'm like by the end of it, it's like I found it like fun because of the chaos, but it also like if I was to pick it apart, and I'm making a conscious like choice to not lean into the things that did not work, it can be picked apart. Like there's a lot of problems when you nitpick, right? But like I was like, I'm just gonna go with my initial overall feeling, which is like I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like there weren't no parts except for like that, a little like in the beginning again for some reason it didn't stick. But after that, like I was like, this is fun. Like this is a fun episode, and like I also think that all of these things that don't work might work when we have like hindsight for them. Not necessarily the humor, like they just missed the bus with that. They it didn't work, but some of the like tone things might come into play. I don't know. But yeah, I was like, this is hilarious and adorable. So if they're trying to be serious right now, like if I'm supposed to be in a state of like like feeling like this is a severe moment, that did not happen, but I do appreciate.
We don't need saving. I was like, okay, what you gonna do against the Flux then, fam? Right. Like, what's the plan? Like, okay. So again, we're getting into the Flux shenanigans, and this is where I was like, oh shoot! Like, not only did this episode do well, like I am now invested into the rest of the arc because we see the Doctor feeling the end of the universe. First of all, despite whatever criticisms I ever have about this Chibnall 2, the criticism is never Jodie's acting. Like she be acting, and I love that for us. And just seeing her go, like, because they go off to like the edge of our solar system and open the door. Also, Dan does the thing. He sees the TARDIS. He's like, oh my gosh, it's bigger than inside, whatever. And so they go to the edge of the universe. He's like, how are we breathing? Air bubble, blah blah blah. The typical beats. But then we see the Flux, the coming in, which is like this big storm. I don't know, and
like a cloud.
Yeah, that's disintegrating everything. And the Doctor like is like going through it physically, and she's like, I can feel it. Like I'm feeling the end of the universe. And I just thought that was like, oh dang, like the stakes, like obviously there's a lot going on, the stakes are high, but I felt like that was when I felt the stakes. I was like, oh snap, got the Doctor feeling like this.
Right.
Indeed. So again, Flux shenanigans. Then again, the Doctor's brain keeps glitching. I don't know. That's what she says. It's a glitch,
the thing. She's saying it's glitching, but like oh boy, is actively sending her the DM.
Exactly.
Like, he's like, ma'am, what's good? Do you remember me? And she's like, nah. And he's like, well, too bad. Like, too bad for you. Sucks for you. That is so. Again, that's one of those things where I'm like, there are moments that are supposed to be scary, and then there's like, and they don't. Again, the tone does not go with my reaction to these things. But like, I'm like, that is wild. Like, when it first happened, I'm like, maybe she just happened to pick up a vibe because she got,
right.
She's strong with the whatever. I don't know. The first time I felt like might have been just an accidental connection because like he was really strong.
That happens sometimes,
right?
To the doctor.
But the second time, he definitely was like at the doctor. Okay, check me out.
Makes it clear
I'm on your ass, and I was like,
I was like,
oh wait, no, this is targeted harassment. Like this is not. This is not like she's not a coincidence, or the doctor is not coincidentally involved. It's very like, I mean, we knew that. But it's extremely pointed by this point because they're like, oh. And like, I have the quote. But like, I just like, we are not, this episode is not really, like, it's softening some of these blows. And I think they should.
Said,
I feel like it should heighten it.
They said, oh, they did good work on you. You really don't remember me. I was like, oh.
That's what I'm like, yeah, like, I was just like, it's so much happening that like, this should like, the doctor should be laid out and just like in a spiral on the floor, just like thinking about the fact that like this is all happening right now. And like I find the lack of, or actually the remainder, like keeping the composure, kind of like that should shake the doctor so much. Like, the person can just psychically call you. That is something that I feel like if it was very common, we would know about it, right? Like the fact that it's happening should already be extremely upsetting, and the doctor should be reacting more to the fact that this is, I mean, like, she's like, yeah, this is fine, it's a glitch, right? But then when it happens, like I feel like that's the only thing I'm like, the direction, something is like not lining up with like the heaviness of what's happening. And that might be on purpose, so that we are like still in the like, yay, it's like a fun little episode, right?
It's
like,
season opener. I can understand if their goal was just to like lull us into like, the good times. We're with the doctor and like getting happy before they like, tear us to shreds, as who does sometimes. Which, valid. I will say, when at this point, we didn't mention it because I just did not care, but like there was a point in the episode we cut to the Arctic, blah blah blah. Turns out Swarm has a sister. I think we mentioned that he has a sister. She was disguised as a human, blah blah, who cares. But I will say, at this point, when we see them towards the later parts of the episode, they are not looking as scary to me. They are not.
No, they've gone. Say it.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the agenda.
I literally was sitting there. I was like, this man looks like Floops Fooglies. Like, did y'all see Spy Kids? Like, he's giving Floops Fooglies. And like, I'm so sorry. I'm that is not to disparage the makeup and prosthetics department on who, but like, once the lighting lightened up, we weren't in that dark, scary place. I was like, so like a Foogly is what we are?
And like I had got the impression that like the more it consumed or destroyed it, like the more vibrant it got. And so I was like, like it's very, he's giving us color. Like we're getting a full like beat right now because he didn't just ate him several planets, and he also had enough energy, to like bring his sister out and also give her. She went straight to color. She never even got to the point of like, she was like boom, bam, boom, like hello, I am here. And I was like, you know what? They might be about to ruin the universe, but they about to do it very stylish, okay? Because they are very like, they are funny looking, but they are also very like, they make you want to know what is going on with them in a way that, again, a lot of villains,
I'm still like, very interested.
Right, like a lot of villains, like once you see, like okay, and you're more scared of the concept or the idea. Like they are like, I want to know what you are like. Like I want to know. Like you're giving it because it's also like like a marble texture going on in the head area. It's like gems and stuff. I'm liking this. This is feeling opulent to me. This is feeling.
It is. It's regal.
Right, like I'm getting like I'm getting wealth. I'm getting And so like something about that, like I like find interesting because I'm like, it's such a interesting and such a fun like like play on the I don't know because like where we start with that character, especially it's like, oh my goodness, it's like he's sharp. That's like a very
Yeah, I think I just bring it up because like it goes to that point we were making about like the tone of the episode being inconsistent and shifting. Because at first, giving the creepiness of like the silence, you remember the silence? Like I was getting those same like creepy vibes, like ooh, I don't know. And then by the end, I'm like,
then it was fashion,
Foogly,
like straight up,
but
like,
with
TikTok.
a beat, Foogly with a beat.
Right, I'm like, it was just like straight up, like I was getting like the reveal, like the before and after, like it was a whole beat, the whole like outfit, it was a lot, but I liked it. But it was also like again tonally, I'm like, oh, am I like we know that it's a threat, but this episode is doing a weird thing where like it is softening that, and I don't know if that again, like you said, like lull us into a false sense of security, like oh they're fine. Like I kind of felt you should lean more into the fact that it is not fine. I think that is more effective to be like, no, this is like real. Like this is things are happening. But for some reason that's being said, but that is not what they are like making us feel. And I'm like, I don't know. And again, that's one of those things like when you look back at it in hindsight, that might work really well. But like at this point, I'm just like, what are we supposed to take from this? Because like I'm kind of interested. Like I kind of want to know. Like I kind of want to see. Like who am I rooting for here? Because I don't know. But like I feel like I should have a stronger point of view about like this is very bad. This is dangerous. This is, and I don't. You do know, like if I write it down, like on paper, I understand that this is a big threat, but I don't feel that threat.
Yeah, I feel like we could get the Foogly with a beat look in the next episode. I feel like it may have been more effective to keep the creepy vibe in the dark like for the first episode.
Yeah, or like make it be like a subtle thing that happens throughout the appearances. Because I feel like they went straight from like creepy, like oh my god, he up in there, to like Glamazon, and like there is no so the mental image we have is going to be the more recent, fresh, the full beat image, and I'm like that's not as scary as that initial image. That initial image is like somebody I do not want to be in a room with. The second one, I might want to chit chat. I might want to get.
Yeah, I'm like, are y'all all evil? Like, is this a whole
like,
race of people
evil?
that like?
Yeah, like are you?
I can hang with some of y'all.
Yeah, like I just feel like they soften them, and that might be just a thing where like, oh, the bite is way worse than the bark or whatever, or they just look non-threatening, but they actually really are, and that could be
or just budget limitations.
But honestly, I feel like they should have just. I mean, even if they didn't go full, like they didn't want to have like obviously you cannot afford to just keep putting on full prosthetics all day and every day, but they could like get them sharper edges, like closer to what the original thing was. That ain't prosthetics are cost a lot, but you make them. And then you just keep
lighting is everything. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still into it.
But like I like it. But it was just like that, like you said, that tone shift and like not really knowing what I'm supposed to like come away from it with. Like I came away with it like, oh, that was fun. But like, should it be fun? Maybe it should be. Should I be concerned? I don't know. So that was
yeah. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode. After that, we get like cuts between all of the stage set. Basically, we're cutting between the puppers are protecting Earth. They formed basically a shield around the Earth to protect it from the Flux. We don't know if it's going to work. Team TARDIS is struggling in the TARDIS because they couldn't get behind the shield because again the TARDIS is sick, is not going where it needs to go. So it looks like they're about to get got by the Flux. Things are happening to those factory workers. Remember, I said I do not care, good sir. Yeah, that's apparently still in play. I had forgotten. Claire is in a different time. Like we see her, the Weeping Angel got her, so we see her appear, and we don't know where yet. And Vinder is actively escaping, which is all I care about because it means like he's still alive. Period.
Right. Also, like randomly, they threw in the potato heads, Mr. Potato. Centaurans. I was really going to
Oh, I forgot to put that.
Right.
Yeah, the Centaurans are here too.
So they have them. They went for realism with these character designs, and I don't like that at all because they both look like rotten potatoes, and they gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, no, I was not into it.
I didn't like that design. Y'all could have pared that down and put that little money on my good homie Swarm.
Yes,
because that was too detailed. I don't like that.
I liked the rubbery prosthetics of the past. Those cheaper ones. Remember those old ones?
I like a nice solid brown. I don't like all the aging and stuff. Like it is more realistic, but for that, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're gonna be obviously like I guess either taking advantage of the Flux or whatever, taking advantage of the fact that the Doctor is preoccupied. And I'm like, don't y'all got something else to do? I don't know. It seems like they've been waiting a long time to do whatever they're gonna do, and I think I could be wrong because I don't pay attention. Once it tells you what the next episode is, but I just at that point I've left the building. But I think it will focus on them.
It sounds like it is.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, they're there too. It's fine. Whatever.
They are.
There's a lot of pieces. So when they're cutting back and forth between all things, you realize like, oh, there is a lot at play here. Yeah. Which for me, getting into our final thoughts of the episode, I love a good mystery. I am very intrigued to see where this is all going, like what it all means, especially the Claire of it all. Claire really interested me, you know, because the timey-wimey, and obviously Vinder because I am who I am and he is who he is. So period. But yeah, I really walked away. It was slow to start, like I said up top, but like as somebody who feels like their whole fandom of the show is riding on this season, like whether it continues or not, this was a strong start for me.
Yeah. And like echoing that, like I really felt like some people like, and I try not to read tweets again because I don't, like you said, I don't want to really have other people influence my thoughts about it. But I did pick up that some people are like, oh, it's a lot happening, it's too much. And I'm like, see, the thing about me as a person is that this is how my brain works, actually. And I'm like, maybe people with certain neurodivergencies or certain like executive dysfunctions might feel what I feel, which is like, yes, because my brain does this every day. Like I am literally always doing 6 things at one time in my brain. Like today I had like 3 tabs open and I was actively doing 3 different things. So like, and I could follow them. That's just where I was. So for me, all the things that were happening did not seem that disjointed, or they didn't seem like too much. Cause I can, and I'm not going to theorize about it, but I have ideas about like what some of the things mean. I tend to be right, and that's the reason I'm not going to theorize. It's like
she does. It's like
I call it my shitty superpower. Like I call it my shitty superpower because like it's not useful. I can't make money off. I guess you could bet, but like whatever. But I tend to be close to right more often than I'm not. So I don't publicly theorize.
Yeah, trust me. If y'all are listening and like, no, we want to hear it. No, you don't. It's just gonna be a spoiler, like an unintentional spoiler.
Yeah, it happens more than I would like. And that's the stuff like it happens across mediums, across genres. It's just something that I have
absolutely a superpower though.
Yeah. So like in my head, I had already made certain connections. Even when they in the very beginning when they have like the people we don't care about and like the Muppets Christmas Carol or whatever, like. I was like, okay, I see what's happening. Like, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it, I do not remember what that thought was. But I literally was like, whatever this is, it's gone. It's not important. I ejected it. I hit the eject button on that thought. But I do remember having the thought, and I'm sure I probably actually wrote it down in my first set of notes. But like, I had a thought. I'm like, oh, this makes sense to me. Like, I don't know what it is, like what I was thinking about, but I bet you I will be right. Like, that's how it is. But like, I don't know. For me, the episode has a lot, but it's a lot that. There are very obvious things that connect, but then there's the things where, like, even if it's not obvious, I can kind of see where it's going. So I like the idea that there are this many threads, and I also like the idea that, like, mentally, like, doing the math in my head, there's about enough episodes to cover each storyline that I think they are trying to, like, put together. I'm like, oh, there's just enough episodes for them to close each one of these things they opened up. Like, if they do it correctly, there's enough time to accurately and like, you know, satisfactorily close up all of these things. Now, maybe they don't. Maybe they spend like 3 episodes on one thing. And we did not need that. Like, you know, we can't know. But I like that. I'm excited about figuring out what things are. I like the mystery. And I like mysteries where you will be rewarded to rewatch the episode, like the episodes in the season later. Because there are some mysteries, like, once you figure it out, it's nothing fun about it. Like, you're like, oh damn, okay. But there are some things like when you rewatch, you like it's a whole different show in a way because you're like, wow, that has a different context. I want to hope, and I say once because I really am still iffy on it, but like I want to hope that part of Chibnall's brain that is like a mystery person and like it had the time and space to do it right this time. Like, you knew you had a limited time, you knew your budget, you knew all these things that tend to mess you up. Right? Like, you had the time to work within that framework. let's give it all you got for this last run. So yeah, I'm hopeful that all these things are going to be that make sense. And that they're going to be like, I don't know.
I too.
Yeah. So
I too am hopeful. I really love it's hard to do, and I feel like TV overall has like skewed too much towards this formula of like have as many things going on as possible and like try and wrap them up to tell this big epic. It doesn't always have to be that, but when
right.
it is that and it is done well, which is more often than not done well, but when it is, like it is so good and compelling to me. Like look at Game of Thrones, the book series, not the show. Don't look at that.
Right.
Don't
Or like
pretend not to see. But the actual like like the written series, The Song of Ice and Fire, like that's 10,000 threads, and like that we can tell the books are never getting finished, but that we could tell they were gonna all wrap up. And I just love that, and I think they're setting it up. They have the time, like Nicole was saying, to wrap it up and like do the thing and write it well. I hope that's what this is going to be, and I will be so here for it if that's what it is. So for we have a new section, a new / old, a rebranding of an old section. If y'all been listening to TARDIS, you know that we had a section called Ryan's Rants and Raves, and what it was just like rants and raves about Ryan, who's no longer on the TARDIS. He's in the TARDIS in our heart, but he's not on the TARDIS. So we decided to rebrand it a little bit and like kind of change it up, and we're going to call it Ruth's Rants and Raves, because Ruth is a doctor and that's forever, period. And we want to use this section to basically rant and rave mainly about like general representation and things like that within the episodes, because just because we may be enjoying the plot, we are not going to let Chibnall and future showrunners like rest because you got to stay on them, or else they just stay on their necks, or else they're just going to give in to like the status quo. We ain't here for that. So first up,
so my thing is, if you followed me on Twitter, anywhere, like you know that I have an issue, or no, actually the show has an issue. I just call it out. There's an issue where in all of the season premieres in the Chibnall's run, a black woman like is prominently killed. And the thing about it is that like the first time it was Grace, and that was like literally my heart dropped, and we were all like, we all knew it was happening, but like it still hurt so bad. It was like, hey, this is like clearly the better character of the two that we are being introduced to in this moment. But like, it was that. And then in Spyfall Part 2, but since Spyfall is being treated as like one whole premiere, that's why it counts. But in Spyfall Part 2, Barton kills his mom on screen. It's needlessly on like 5 different levels. And even if I'm callous and think that the death is warranted story-wise, the way it was done, it was still bad. So it was like right there. In this one, the first people we meet, or like, you know, after the doctor, obviously, the first new people we meet are, I think their name was Syntech. And they're the ones guarding Swarm before he's Swarm or whatever. And I mean, again, that whole thing is set up to like a horror movie situation. It very much is. But you know, he turns to dust, or I don't actually know. They kind of are queer coded, like they could be, I don't know. But they turn to dust, and it's like, it's one of those situations where I'm like, maybe you could have not cast a white person for this if they were going to die right here, because like it keeps happening.
Exactly. In isolation, this particular death, whatever, like it doesn't really mean anything, because it's just to serve an end narratively, not in like a fridging way, but just to show like, oh, this guy's not playing, and like it could have been anybody in that role. It wasn't like significant that they were a black person or anything like that.
Exactly.
And so in isolation, this wasn't so bad, but there is a pattern. So don't like it, not a fan. And so we're clocking it here in Ruth's Rants and Raves.
Exactly.
Which is also why I'm like, Vinder better not die. A, because he's the boy, but also because this pattern, we are seeing it from the mountains, and we are not pleased. Next for me, again, I talked about it in the episode already, so we won't dwell on it, but Thasmin is struggling, and I just really feel like it's just forced conflict and it's grating on my nerves because you can accomplish the same thing narratively for the Doctor's character without having to put Yaz's character in this position where she is being portrayed as not as close to the Doctor or maybe not trustworthy enough. Even within in the Doctor's eyes, even if it's that we know that she's trustworthy enough, there's no reason why the Doctor should think that. Like Yaz and the Doctor, the way I've seen their relationship play out, should be close enough that this is not an issue. I don't like it, and honestly, the again, the we, I just want the queerness. It would
Right.
make so much sense that they would be romantically involved, and so I don't want it to be true, but it also feels like, while also just being lazy about giving the Doctor this like internal struggle and conflict, it also seems to be, and it could be projecting, but like a response to the fandom who has really rallied around and picked up on the chemistry here and
Yeah.
like pushing it away like, no, they're not that close. It ain't like that. And I'm just like,
That's what the main thing was for me. It's like, I feel like you're trying to, it was kind of the way that like 12 was like aggressively rude to Clara, just to like,
right.
hey, there is no romance here, bing bang boom, like we're not doing that. And I'm like, you really honestly did not need to spend the whole like half a season of him basically calling her out her name and like talking about her body and her face for us to get that. You really could have spent like one episode being like, bro, look at my face, I look like an older man, you look like a younger woman. If we are in the streets, people are not gonna vibe with that, so it's not happening. Like, they really could have nipped it in the bud, but they spent so much time just to like hammer it in, like, this is not happening. And like, hey, shippers gonna ship. What they need to understand, people gonna
Period.
ship. You could, I mean, and I have seen this myself. You can have the character kill the other character, and somebody's gonna find a way to make it work. So
Absolutely.
there is really no way to erase that possibility for people. So I hate when shows react to that kind of, or like they don't want, like, oh, they're reading something to it that we didn't intend, and like that happens. And like, I understand not wanting that to happen if you don't plan to take the story there, but then to then go like a 360, wait, not 360, that's a circle, 180. If you do a 180 and are like changing the way these characters interact just to make it so that people aren't seeing something else, that I don't like. Like, I feel like they did that even like Sherlock. It's like the shippers shipped so hard, and then like the show made fun of shippers in a way. Like, it was always like, we're gonna
it was messed
play
up
with your emotions, and we're gonna make fun of you for thinking this. But I'm like, no, you have actors that have a certain kind of chemistry naturally. Then you have situations because you are very, like, your experience is narrow, but other people have a different experience and are reading this completely differently, and that's not bad. You just have to say, like, narratively, we're not doing that, but if you see that, fine. It's the fact that they say, oh, we're not doing that, so we need to make sure we hammer it in that this is not what we're doing, and that turns people off. I hate that.
I hate it too. I hate it because even just narratively as a friendship, it's detrimental. But then on top of that, like, why the queer community needs the representation, and that is also why, beyond the shipping of it all, like the LGBTQI like plus community sees things because, like Nicole was saying, of their experiences in the world that you as like, and I'm not to assume, like, I don't know Christian Mill's life, like, frankly, but like like assuming that he is a cis straight white man, like, he doesn't have those experiences, so like, just let us read into it, and like, there's no harm in it. And so I'm hoping that's not what they're doing, obviously, but like, I don't, it's hard to say that that's not. And so I am,
it's like, you kind of like hopeful, but also like I'm not gonna invest in this being the goal, because I don't think that the show is gonna do that.
right.
But I would love for them to. I would love to be proven wrong in this one. I would love to be like, you know what, got you. We actually are gonna do that, because to me, that's like the best thing you can do in a show for me is like really surprise me. So, we're gonna hope, and then also be prepared to be
exactly
right
for the same old.
Yeah.
On to our raves. What you raving about?
I mean, my notes just say Vinder fine as hell on guard. Like, he is so okay. So like, again, there is like there's a physical being like an attractive person, but there is also like something I could not have accounted for beforehand, which is the personality of this character. And when I say that every scene, like the 2 scenes that we got, I was like, oh my God, I love them. Cause I felt like they acted how I would act, which is like, I'm definitely out of here. I am out of D3000. We're not staying here while these planets are getting ate up. Like, I just really liked their like personality, and they were not playing against anyone. They were not like
exactly.
They
the
were
charisma.
not. Yeah, like the fact that you were just in a pod or like in a space station or whatever, and you're like able to exude that much personality without even playing against someone. It's like, I found that actually, like, I genuinely, and I mean that not just because I find them attractive, but like that made me really like the character in a way
Exactly.
because I was like, I might not I have set myself up for the possibility that like the hype is not going to be met because I'm excited about this actor, right? But I'm like, that don't mean nothing because a lot of people I like have played roles I did not like. So I was just really excited, like that I like actually enjoyed this character. So that's my rave. It's like Vinder is actually giving what needs to be gave, and I am very excited to like get to know him and see what he doing and see what's going on.
How you doing? Like, what you doing? Yeah, absolutely. My rave is literally all I put was same because like that's it. Like Vinder stole the show, and I'm fine with that. Like it is well with my soul. So
I love it.
All right, and we're going in with the quotes from the TARDIS. My quote. Again, y'all been here. Y'all know we pick out quotes that really resonate with us, like from the episode. So y'all been here. Y'all know what it is. My quote that really just like, it was the delivery for me, but the doctor right at the end of the episode says, the end of the universe. I always wondered what it would feel like. And I just was like, dang, this is serious. Like, the way Jodie delivered that line, like, I just like felt that in my chest. So
yes, and also just like really something the doctor has never experienced.
Exactly.
Like, you
this
forget
is new.
that. Yeah, I love that. And my quote is from the good homie, my blue homie Swarm. And it was in that mental DM. They say, I remember every battle. This gives me the advantage. Our final fight has begun. I love it.
Ooh,
I love
it.
It's just so like ominous, and it gives history, but it also gives you nothing. Perfect. It's like a perfect.
And also our final fight. Like, how does he know? Like, what have they been prepping?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
y'all been doing this so long, but like we have no context. Like we know nothing, but we know a lot. So I love the ominousness of it. Like I love that it could be anything, and it could shivers.
Yeah, shivers. Agreed. So that's it for us and the recap of this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Where can you find us? Let me tell you, we're in all the places, basically. You probably already know where to find us, but just in case, you can check out blackgirlscreate.org. That's where we be. We have all of our other like projects, podcasts. We got a YouTube that's got like digital content. Like, you just check us out over there. It's got everything. As for social media, where do you want us to find us, like talking about stuff? You can follow us on Twitter at Black Girls Create. That's BLK Girls Create, and that's our whole organization. We be doing fandom stuff, creation stuff, fandom to creation, critical fandom, all that. You can follow me at Delia is Typing. That is DELIA is Typing. You can follow Nicole at Queer Specimen, period. You can also follow at Black TARDIS. That's where she be doing her who stuff. Tweet at us your thoughts using the hashtag TARBIS, TARBIS. What do you think of this episode? Do you want to just share Vinder gifts back and forth? I'm down with it. Like, holla, let's do it. Rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Also, you can become a Patronus. Did you know we have a Patreon? We absolutely do, honey. Head over to patreon.com/blackgirlscreate to support what we do. Patronuses who donate $15 per month get more nerdy deep dives with our BGC Presents limited podcast series where we deep dive into properties such as Naruto, Lord of the Rings, and more. And of course, we can't leave without mentioning that TARDIS is part of Hard Knock Media. We've joined the Nerds of Color podcast network, including the podcast Hard Knock Live, Southern Fried Asian, DCTV Classic, Ask Bye Girls, Desi Geek Girls, We're Not All Ninjas, and That Moment. Period. Look, it's a whole roster, so check us out over there too at hardknockmedia.com. And yeah, thank y'all for listening. We're going to be back next week with the next Doctor Who episode of What the Flux? I mean, the Flux. War of the Suntarans. The Suntarans are here. We going to see more of them, apparently.
It's going to be fisticuffs. Hands on sight.
All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.